Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. Welcome, Danielle. I am so glad that you were able to join me today. And I know that it was a bit of a challenge to get the right timing between the two of us, considering where we both are in the world, which I love. That's part of why I love this podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm checking in from Melbourne, Australia, and it's really great to be here on your show today.
Wonderful. And I'm just so glad that you're able to make it. So just to start us off on an interesting note, hopefully, I have a question for you that I usually ask every one of my guests, and that is if you have an early memory of how sound moved you.
Yes. Something that comes to mind is, well, I think the very first thing that, you know that I'm a singer. And I think the most potent thing that comes to my mind is just listening to my mum's albums. So if you can, recall those days where you had an LP and it was on a turntable, and my mum had the ABBA Gold album and the Bee Gees.
I do remember those days.
and Barbara Streisand. And
yes.
She used to listen to them on rotation. And that's where I think sound really started to influence me in a really big way. And for me, it was through singing. But that's probably my earliest memory, and just listening to those over and over and over. And of course, mimicking and imitating every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, actually. I remember Barbara Streisand. My parents had an album of hers, too, and I used to listen to that a lot. And, of course, ABBA was definitely a favorite.
Yeah.
And, I remember listening to old albums of Henry Mancini, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Pink Panther. I mean, you can't sing to that. You sort of can sing to that, I guess, but it's not the same thing. But, yeah.
Those songs were so melodic. I think melody is something that's really powerful, in sound. So
very much so.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Harmony too, which I guess with ABBA you were getting a lot of. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what type of sound has impacted you maybe recently? Have you had any experiences recently that really struck you?
Well, singing, continues to have that big impact. Actually, I can probably share with you two different things.
Sure.
When I sing and perform, there's just something that's happening inside. I can just feel the power and that vibration of my voice internally in my body, and something really powerful happens. And that's a really beautiful, amazing experience, to just be really inside of my body and just fully immersed in the moment of what I'm performing and feeling the music, listening, expressing these lyrics and singing this melody and all of this just inside my body and coming out and moving across the room. And sometimes, I've been so deep in those moments sometimes that I've even stopped in the middle of it, kind of observing it, going, wow, this is really powerful, like there's something big happening here. And had these wonderful experiences where the audience at the end of my performance have reacted in that way too, and just jumped out of their seats or something. So I can feel that there's something really powerful with sound and the way it, and with everything attached to it, intention and like you said, harmony and melody and that can travel across the room and really impact and influence people and move them in a very, very deep way. The other thing that I can think of is I've done some training in sound therapy and sound healing as well. And, just to be in, have you ever been in a sound bath?
I've heard of them. I've always wanted to try something like that. I haven't really experienced it other than like my own, like a bowl or something like that, or listening to some things. But yeah, a controlled environment, I've never been a part of that. So
just imagine just being in a deep meditative state and all of these instruments and, bowls and chimes and gongs and all sorts of other instruments just playing and reverberating through your body, and you can feel something, very powerful happening, and, just healing and feeling your whole state of body change, like it's just, it's emotions coming up and, all sorts of things, which I think is really helpful and really, really, healthy and healing for people. So I think that's probably one of the most profound sound experiences that I've had more recently. Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah. So you have talked about an inner voice before. We were speaking about that in our chat before this. And I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit about what you mean. Is that kind of where you were going when you were having that profound experience, when you were singing and you were looking back at yourself and in the flow? Is that somewhere in there, or are we talking more about your meditative state in a sound bath?
I think it's probably a little bit of both, but it's I guess, for me as a singer and a performer, it was always very natural and easy for me to go into myself and connect, to my soul, if you like, and because it was just a deep experience for me to express music, and it was a very natural thing. I was taught for a while, emotion-centered singing, and I guess maybe that helped me to connect into that a little bit. But expressing the truth and the whole meaning of music and the story that I'm telling was the whole purpose. And not only just to do it well, but to really, I would use these songs to express things that I couldn't probably express, ordinarily, like just having conversations with people, or, you just things that deepest parts of my heart and soul, that perhaps things I wouldn't even say to my friends or my family, and so it was a way in which for me to express that. And I'd be singing songs about, heartbreak and, all these sorts of things, and wanting to be somebody and all those sorts of things. And I started to realize that not everybody can easily do that, and I was kind of struggling because I also coach a lot of singers and performers, and sometimes I would hear these really amazing voices come out of my clients, but there would be this limitation within them to express, like they would go to a certain point, and the moment I would say to them, can you tap into the emotion or the feeling or the expression or some deeper meaning of what you're saying, and that was scary or difficult for them. So I went on this journey to figure out what's going on, why can I do it and they can't, and I started to realize that this inner voice not everybody really listens to or has access to, and that's just my word for it, inner voice, but you could some people might call it your soul, your spirit, I don't know. A divine, thing or something. I don't know, but there's some deeper part of us that is in the core of our body, and it's that little voice that nudges us, you know, it's that little voice that sort of speaks and says, I really want to do this, or, you know, wish I could do that. And, you know, that little voice inside of us that's encouraging us to express a part of ourselves, a part of our soul. And I wanted to find ways in which to access that more deeply or easily. And so I started, you know, training in these embodiment techniques, and to really get present with the body, and to drop in, find ways in which to drop in that didn't feel so scary. And and that's what I discovered. And so what I do is I guess I help people drop into this sort of power center of their body, and be able to listen to that inner voice and to access it very quickly and very easily, and then be able to express it. And what happens is that voice is connected to a deeper part of ourselves, so it's far more grounded, it's connected to our authentic truth, our soul. And so not only does the sound come out much better, much richer, much fuller, but it also comes out far more authentic and truthful, you know, in we're able to connect on that deeper level, and get away from the fear, or the, you know, the panic, or the, you know, the worry about it. So it's been really profound. It's helped me be able to go deeper within myself, and I've also now been able to help people connect into their own inner voice, and use that to express themselves, not only in singing, but in everyday life, which is really wonderful. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if that also works with public speaking, because that, again, is something that people have a great fear of. One of the largest fears that people have, actually, is public speaking, apparently. So, yeah, tapping into something like that would be really useful.
And, you know, not only just public speaking. I mean, it's great. You could use it, you know, if you're speaking in front of a group of people, but you might even just engage this in one-on-one conversation. You know, like, you have to have a very difficult, challenging conversation with a loved one, you know, a partner, you know, a colleague at work, or you know, and you can just use that to drop in and tap into that deeper part of yourself, and find that this exchange is actually a lot better, or it's a lot easier, or a lot more effective and impactful. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how does someone tune into that inner voice? I mean, I would gather that you would have to have some kind of stillness at some point in order to be able to do that. Or maybe you practice beforehand, and then when you do a performance, you know what it feels like. There's a muscle memory, or, you know, muscle memory. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, definitely finding that stillness, the still point. I think that's really necessary, because if you think, in order to find it, imagine it's the opposite of that busy monkey mind, you know, and most of us are working or operating from that busy monkey mind all the time. You know, I think we're taught that, it's culture, you know, we're just in our heads all the time.
Yeah. Rush. We need to be somewhere immediately. Get something done now.
Yeah. And also all those thoughts in our head, like, oh, I should be doing this, and oh, so-and-so said that to me, so, you know, I was always told that. So, you know, and so we're living a life from the conditioning of this busy monkey mind, I believe, most of the time. And so the opposite of that is getting more still, really. And so that is probably the best way to connect into it. So, I mean, I could take you through it just very quickly, like a little taste of it, if you like.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, so you could just, you can close your eyes, because often if we close our eyes, it just brings the attention inward. And then just take a few deep breaths in and out. And of course, ordinarily this process would take a little bit longer, but we'll just feel into this, because even on a short little process like this, you can get a sense of it, or you should get a sense of it. And, you know, just feel into choose a part of your body where we do express from. And so you might feel into your heart, or you might feel into your gut. And I like to take people into that feeling of their gut, because it's a deeper part of ourselves. And this part of our body is the power center of the body. Like if you're looking at Chinese medicine and all those sorts of things, there's a lot of practices that you can do, like where you're taught to connect into this power center of the body. Like think of something like karate or something, yeah? So you can just take a moment to drop into this deeper part of your body. So think just sort of below the belly button, inside the body, and even think back towards the spine, because we're often in this go, go, go mentality of being in the front of our body. We're moving forward, pushing forward, yeah? But we don't sit back often enough into the back of our body. And to access this deep state, we want to be in that part of our body as well. And if you take a moment, you can just sense as you allow your awareness to drop down the spine a little bit further. Imagine you're just dropping down deep, deep, deep. And you feel like you're more into the lower part of your belly, the lower back, the pelvic bowl of your body. And just relax and just, you can use your imagination if that helps you get there. It is a little mysterious. And then if you just spend a few moments here in that real still point and asking yourself, just find that energetic still point that exists within my body, in this part of my body. And so for me, I've just felt like, a little energetic pulse, kick in this part of my body. So I know that that's my power center. That's my still point. And so I just allow myself to be here and present with it for a little while. So have you been able to feel that, Jodi? Are you there?
I am here.
You can feel it?
I was trying to keep my eyes closed and focus on it. And I loved listening to your voice kind of bringing me down into that center. And it felt relaxing. It definitely felt relaxing.
So to complete the process, what you would do is give that a little bit of time. And then from that deep place, you can feel what wants to be communicated and speak or sing from that part of your body. Yeah.
So is that when people would start humming or something like that? I gather if you're doing this with a bunch of people and people start vocalizing, it might actually connect. Like everyone may start, making a noise that harmonizes or goes with the same beat. Or I guess as humans, we have this innate need to connect with other humans, and that's why we all sway to the same beat when things, where we're in a concert or something like that. Like it's,
yeah. Well, that's entrainment, so if I was doing that in a sound bath, I would get people to just start making sound, and people just freely express their sound, just sing different notes, or and before you know it, we have this beautiful, like you said, harmonizing choir, but it's not planned. It's very improvised, and it's just coming from a very deep place. But if I was speaking in front of people, I would from that deep place start communicating out. So my awareness is staying in that deep power center of my body, but I'm also speaking out to the room. Now, this sound is very different to if I'm sort of up in my busy monkey mind and everything's going a million miles an hour, and you can just see how different that sounds, and the pace is totally different. If you're watching the video, you can see how my energy is back up into my upper body, my shoulders, and feel the impact of that, how different that voice is being spoken to you and communicated to you, as opposed to that much more embodied, grounded sound, where now, my voice box drops down to a more natural state. My pace is just more in flow and even. I'm not rushing, but I'm not terribly slow either. I feel more grounded in the lower part of my body. And I feel more calm and centered, as you said. And so now I'm talking from a more calm, centered, grounded state. And from that place, we access different type of information that we want to communicate as well, as opposed to, the type of information we access through a frazzled mind. Mm-hmm. So that's really one of the key exercises that I teach, and it's a great one to start experimenting with and putting into practice. You can do that anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. Along with deep breathing and all of the things the calm that comes with that. Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt calm there.
Yeah.
So it was a very nice feeling. I enjoyed that.
So the grounded, to be in that lower part of the body, in our power center, connects us. It's not just a calm, it's also a grounding, and that's how we feel safe.
Okay.
So the safety, that's why you can often feel that confidence to be able to speak and say something more truthful or more aligned to what you really want to communicate, or deeper in your performance. Mm-hmm. So that's my message, is that it's not just about feeling nice and calm. That's part of it, but the deeper part is truthful, authentic, safe to express yourself. And I think that's the biggest problem in this, one of the biggest problems in the world, that people don't feel safe to express themselves, to truly express who they are or what they want to say. And so this gives you a way in which to feel safe to do that.
I love that. Yeah. And it seems like a really wonderful exercise to go through on a regular basis, I would think, so that you could center yourself and understand where your authentic self is. So yeah, I like that a lot. It's a very interesting way to know yourself better.
Yes, and not be afraid to express it.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.